Hello, welcome to episode 6 of the 3Ls podcast, Life, Likes, and Landing Pages. Episode 6. I can't believe we're on episode 6 already. And this episode is all about the difference between a business plan and a marketing plan. Hands up if you get overwhelmed by all of the plans and strategies and calendars and campaigns that you're meant to have in your business. It's so overwhelming. And you can, if you've spoken to me or if you know anything about, if you follow my content or anything like that, you'll know how big I am on strategy, how important I think it is. So it's not a step that should be skipped. And I think a lot of people skip it because it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming, and it does kind of, you might start it and then you go, oh, fuck that, put it in a too hard basket. And I'm guilty of that myself, absolutely guilty of that myself. For myself. Like I can do strategies for clients for days, but when it comes to doing it for myself, I'm like, boom. So
it's a thing, right? Like do as I say, not as I do.
But so today's episode is, we're going to start, and there's going to be a few, this is kind of like the start of a little mini series, I suppose. We're going to start breaking down what each of these strategies and plans and calendars and everything else mean, and what each one should include, how it should be structured, how it helps, and how they should be implemented, because there's also no point in creating these things if you're not going to then implement them. So we're going to start with, what is the difference between a business plan and a marketing plan? And
maybe it's a good idea to explain why we're talking about this topic. Anyone who's listened to our previous episode, we were talking about, both of us basically, I'm basically for the first time launching a business. Gayle is working on different brands and her business, and we were talking about plans and strategies, and we use it kind of like interchangeable, almost like the business plan and a marketing plan, but they are two very different things. So we wanted to make sure that everything that we talk about in this mini series about like marketing plans and marketing strategies, that it's clear what we are talking about, that it's not not the same as a business plan.
And if you're listening so far and you're kind of thinking, oh, I've got a business plan, I've got a marketing plan, I don't need to listen to this episode. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because even if you've got a business plan and you've got a marketing plan, whether you're a new business who's just starting out, just creating these documents for the first time, or you're an existing business who, has maybe been around for a couple of years and you've gone, oh, I've already done that. These plans are, they're not set in stone. They need to adapt and grow with your business. So it's something that you have to revisit on a regular basis. Not too often, but on the flip side, you don't need to be swapping and changing them every 2 months. But it's something that you need to constantly come back to and check. And I use the analogy of a foundation of a house. So these are the foundations of your house, your business. And if you build a strong foundation, when the storms come, because they inevitably will, the foundation will be strong and you will be able to withstand that storm. You might have a few cracks here and there after the storm, but you'll still be standing. If you don't have a strong foundation, the first storm that comes along is going to blow your house down. And like a house, just continuing with that analogy, every so often you need to check that the foundations are still intact. So with that in mind, and with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to go over to Kim, because you're going to take us through more of the business plan part. So if I was a brand new business, or like we said, an established business, rechecking or re-going over my business plan, where would you suggest starting?
Well, the business plan is very rooted in your goals for your business. So one thing that the business plan, where it's a little different than a marketing plan, is the time span, the time frame that it covers. So usually a business plan is about like a vision for 3 to 5 years. So it's a very, it's rooted in your business. Everything that you do to move your business forward. So where I would start there is like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Like it might be scary to think of the 5 years, right? Like we always like dreaming, but as soon as it becomes like more like, okay, set some goals, it kind of becomes scary. But because you put it in 5 years, it actually becomes like, okay, I might be able to do it at that point. And I also think if you aren't a bit scared of your goals, they're probably not high enough. You need to be a little uncomfortable. You need to be out of that comfort zone to get to that next level. So just a little bit about where I get this information from. So I have been working in multiple jobs, functions, job titles, whatever in business for since I was 23. I have worked as an account manager, I've worked as a product manager, I've worked as a project manager, IT manager. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of business. And I worked in a few very different companies. So I worked in, the Yellow Pages, huge company that had to, update itself, update its branding, update its image. And at the same time, I worked at an IT company who really were growing so fast that they basically didn't know what to do with themselves. And in both cases, the solution is a business plan. The solution to manage that growth and the solution to change into a new world was a business plan. Because what a business plan does is it covers all the bases on your business. So it covers IT, it covers marketing, it covers finance, it covers legal. And those are really big terms, right? So for Yellow Pages, maybe in our head that makes sense, but for a small business like myself, maybe that sounds a bit scary. But think of it a little differently. So think about IT. Is your computer working? Do you have your systems in place? If someone has trouble with the products or services that you sell, can they reach you? And if they reach you and you're on holiday, do you have a backup or anything like that? If you're talking about legal, you don't have to have a whole legal team or lawyers on retainer or anything like that. But do you have your privacy settings set? Do you have a contract that legally makes sense? So you may have to invest a little money in that, but on the long term, then that will support you to get to that 5-year goal.
Just interjecting quickly there. They always say, isn't it, you should plan for the business you want, not the business that you have.
Yes. Yeah. And that's also with everything, right? Like if you're shooting for the stars, you can put your pin on Earth because, there's a big difference between that. I did a little, with one of the companies, I was actually part of the team to write a new business strategy. And we did a training for Scale Up Company specifically. So Scale Up Company is a company that's basically has been a successful startup. They are growing to a point where it's no longer like a startup. And one of the things that I've noticed that is really like, okay, you're no longer a startup is when you need HR, when you need an HR department, because that means you have people to really manage and you need someone to understand that. I don't know. That's not a rule. It's just my perspective of it. But what they were calling it was a big, hairy goal or
big hairy ass goal.
Very audacious goal. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Goal that makes you super uncomfortable, but if you get it, you're just you're ready to die, you can die happy. So use that also as a part of your business plan. But basically a business plan is a holistic view of your entire company that will that is a roadmap for your success and sustainability of your company. And the people who you're targeting with that are your partners, your investors, but also your employees. Like, let's say even if you're outsourcing something to someone, it's the first person you're outsourcing something to your social media manager. It's nice to know for that social media manager where you are headed, because then they can help you.
It's your GPS system. It's your navigation.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So again, because I do love my analogies. I often talk about strategies being, and this could be related to any strategy within the business, but it is your GPS system taking you to a destination that you've never been to before. Now you might be able to get to that destination, i.e. the goal, without the navigation system, but you're going to take wrong turns along the way. You're going to make it harder for yourself. You're going to take longer to get there because you don't know where you're going. If you do take a wrong turn, you're not going to know that you've taken a wrong turn until it's potentially too late to correct or course correct, so you lose time. And that's where these plans come into play. They are your navigation system to your goal, basically.
Yeah. I would take I think the business plan is a little above that though, because when I think of a navigation system, it tells me to go left, it tells me to go right. And a business plan tells you what you need to go left and to go right, but not when to go left and when to go right. That's where like the more departments plans, like a marketing plan, come in, where they
would you say it's more like the vehicle?
Actionable.
So it's more like the vehicle?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like if we're talking about that, because I think the business plan is more of the vision, is more of the in script writing we call it the theme. Like everything is related to that theme.
Yeah.
Like every scene, but not every scene is the same. I don't know if that's a good analogy. I don't think.
No,
yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
I'm not great with analogies, but I'm just saying, like with a GPS, you feel like, oh, it's very detailed, and the business plan, because it's for 3 to 5 years, it's a little more high over. And I think this is a great moment to give it over to you, because then the departments that are involved in your business plan, they take over and create a more actionable plan.
So your marketing plan is basically it's a subset of that business plan. And so where Kim said that obviously the business plan encompasses like operations, legal, sales, marketing, finances, all of that kind of stuff, human resources. Your marketing plan, as it says on the tin, is just specifically for marketing. So it will focus on marketing and advertising efforts. It's going to detail how you're going to attract and retain customers. It's going to detail how you what the customer journey looks like and how you kind of manage each stage of that customer journey. You're going to go into details that might be touched on in the business plan a little bit, but you're going to go into details on a deeper level, such as your audience, which marketing channels you're going to be using, what your content strategies are, do you have any budgets for ads, and other things as well. What performance metrics are you going to measure? So how are you going to measure success, and how do you define success as well? So it goes into a little bit more detail, and where Kim has said that, the business plan is like your 3 to 5 year roadmap, if you like. Although as we've just said, it, as Kim just said, it is a little bit higher than that roadmap kind of thing. But 3 to 5 years, marketing plan is a little bit more. It's still like a long-term thing, but not as longer term. So I'd say that your marketing plan maybe needs to be reviewed every year. And it's quite
at least.
Because it needs to be a little bit more fluid, because obviously markets change. You're going to need to adjust. You're going to need to shift. There might be something that pops up in your business. You might create a new product that you haven't accounted for in your original marketing plan. So you need it to be a little bit more fluid. You need it to be a little bit more flexible than your business plan. And like I say, it details like the specific actions that you're going to be taking towards the goal. So it's always got the goal in mind, but the marketing plan is about detailing the steps that are going to be taken to get there. So it breaks that goal down into, if you like, more actionable chunks. So there's still that overarching.
It's more the like, you're going left here, you're going right here kind of thing.
We need to get off this. We need to get off this train now and get the plane to the next part. Is that kind of feeling or approach. So yeah, it's specific actions that need to be taken to get you to your goal. So it might break down what the revenue generating actions are. If your goal, for example, is to reach X amount of revenue, then it's going to break down, okay, well, these are your revenue generating activities. This is, and that's where you then start to bring things in like KPIs and all of that kind of stuff as well. So
and I think if we're talking, revenue is a great example of that. Like in a business plan, you have revenue goals, and you can say 80% comes from sales and 20% comes from the marketing department. And then the sales department we're talking about the bigger business now though, but like the sales department would get, their own strategy on how to get to that 80% of the revenue target. And then marketing makes their own plan for that as well. So it becomes a lot more detailed and not less or more important. Like it's a whole.
Oh, they all play.
It needs each other.
They're the cogs. Each one plays. It's a cog in the wheel, and each cog is so important in the wheel to keep the wheel turning. Just what you said about strategies to make the money. It might also detail strategies on how to save the money or how to. So it could be things like, okay, you'd start to look at metrics and you start to reverse engineer some figures. We know that our goal is X and our conversion rate is X. Therefore, we know we need Y number of leads. And then you might start to look at, and this is super detailed, by the way. This I would say this isn't necessarily going to be as focused in this way as it for a smaller business. Definitely not in the beginning anyway, because obviously you won't have that data. But as you grow, these are the kind of things that you would start to include in these plans. But you're going to be looking at things like, okay, so we know that our just spitballing off the top of my head, our 20% of our leads come from email marketing, and each lead has a cost per acquisition of X, and therefore blah blah blah. And you would start to kind of make sure that you're aware of what are your most profitable channels. So therefore, where are you going to spend more of your time, your efforts, which channel isn't working. And as time goes on and you start to build these plans out in that way, you then start to optimize your efforts and you're working smarter and harder kind of thing. So
exactly.
Like I say, it won't be like that in the beginning. So don't, if you're a new business listening and going, well, fuck, I don't know, that's fine. But those are the kind of things that you want to keep in mind, that you want to be able to discuss maybe the first time you start to review these plans. So
and I think that's a great, like, start with what you have and what you know, and then if you look at it every quarter or every year, you've learned things. And that could be also like automating systems, like instead of having to write like a customized proposal every time you get a new client, you can maybe like generalize it a little bit, so you only have to customize a few things, and that goes a lot quicker, so you get more work done in an hour basically, instead of having to work 2 hours to do the same amount of work.
And similarly, it could be like, okay, we know our conversion rate on email is 10%. How do we take that to 12%? It could be things like that, so again, working smarter, not harder. You're not trying to scramble for more people, you're doing more with the people and the leads that you've got. So strategies like that might start to come into play.
Definitely. And I think it's also important, if your plan doesn't work, if you've been working on that plan for a year, or both plans, right? So business plan, marketing plan, you feel like it's been a year and you feel like you're not making the progress that you wanted to make, then like look at your data, look at what has been working. Don't be down or angry with yourself. This is business. This is what we do in business. The thing is though, what I've also seen happening in business is don't change your business plan straight away. Like give it time. Same thing with your marketing plan. Don't see like, oh, I haven't made any sales in the last week or whatever. I need to change my business plan, my marketing plan. Just give it time for it to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, that's also okay. That's important to know. and then you can have a look, and maybe you have to tweak a few things. But don't be like, if you're making a plan for 5 years and in the first quarter you're not making the goal that you set yourself, don't beat yourself up over it, because it does need time a little bit.
I said this to a client the other day. In business, there's no such thing as failing. There's only lessons. It's not failing. Yeah. There's just lessons. Sure. And you know, you've hit the nail on the head, Kim. Like, if you have to pivot, I mean, I'm having to pivot right now. I'm in the process of pivoting, you know, and you're always going to be adapting and growing and switching, and that's okay. Everything to do with marketing, the whole premise of marketing, and if, you know, potentially business as well, maybe your input in a second, is testing and optimization. It is learning. No marketer can come to you and go, this is going to 100% work. This is absolutely what we need to do, because there's no way to tell. And the way that marketing itself adapts and evolves so quickly these days, what you tried for your last advertising campaign, you could use the same copy, the same creative, and it tanks. Well, why? It was a success last time because things have changed. People have changed. Buying cycles have changed. Sales psychology has changed. It's so quick to change that you are always testing and optimizing. That's the whole premise of marketing.
And even seasons change. Like we are in Australia. If we were to launch a new product in, like, I don't know, January 7th, most people are outside or like terrified of the sun. They're maybe inside, but I feel like the country pretty much shuts down December, January.
Oh yeah.
But if you're launching in Europe and you're launching in January, that's when people want that new stuff. So even like, you know, your seasons and where your audience is a big means a lot of how successful you are at that moment.
And that's why these plans and strategies are important, because they help you identify what periods those are for you. And
so
don't try and ask an Australian to do anything between December and January. We're all on school holidays.
No,
even if we don't go to school, we're on school holidays.
I know.
When I was commuting,
different from Europe.
When I was commuting, it was a case of like, oh yeah, school holidays, like everything. Even though I don't have kids, or I didn't have kids at the time, don't have school, I'm not a teacher. It changed everything for me. The way I get to work, I can leave 20 minutes later. Don't ask an Australian 100%. To do anything between December and January. And give us time in February to get back into it.
Exactly. So it's all these things that should have a place in your business or marketing plan. But don't, like, it's okay if it doesn't work. Like,
what do you
pivot, learn, and continue.
What do you think, in your experience, is the biggest mistake that people make or businesses make when creating their business plan?
To me, it's not giving it time. So I've in pretty much all the companies that I worked at where they're like making a switch. I also understand why, right? Because they're like, when you have a company that work with 100 people or more, like, if it's not working, you're not making sales. Like, the amount
you're going to panic mode.
Yeah, you're going to panic mode. And I'm not as big an analogies as you are, but this is my favorite analogy ever that I thought of. And no one knows. It's not a great one, but when you see like zebras in a group, like running across the savannas, they make this like really high pitched noise, and that high pitched noise to me is like a really like feels like panicky. But then you see all of a sudden, so they go like this, and then all of a sudden you don't see what happened. Obviously something happened. They go like this, and they make the same high pitched noise. And I always think, just slow down, just be a little like, I don't know, just slow it a little down and give that route that you chosen, give that some time, and do everything you can to make that work. You know, like, you can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. You have to make those plans. But I would say that is something that people businesses could potentially be better at, I think. And then the other thing is overextending themselves. So when they say like, okay, I want to make in 5 years, I want to make $100,000 a year, and they calculate it to the cent what they need to do for that, and then something happens. They have the flu for a week, and then that month is not working, and then it's like it's not working. And then I always think like, was the 100,000K, was it realistic to begin with? Or did you put it there because you thought it was cool?
Or did you see a guru online saying that?
Yes, that is possible. And of course it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying, I don't think anyone lives to work. I don't think that's a thing. So try to make it realistic so that when the plan fails, that you're like, okay, I understand what I can do to make it better. And that you're not like, oh my God, I haven't even made a drop in the bucket kind of thing. So I make it realistic. Those make it realistic and give it time. Those two things, I think.
Aren't they two of the components of a SMART goal?
Yeah,
specific,
exactly.
Measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. On the flip side, just as you were talking then, you were saying people pivot too quickly, and I completely agree. And I've got so many stories of businesses that I've worked in personally where they've done exactly the same thing. But I think also knowing when you should be pivoting is a big mistake as well. Don't ride something so far into the ground because you're too stubborn to admit that maybe we got it wrong. It's okay to get things wrong.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Yeah. I would say use your data, like really use your data. And if you don't know how to get data, ask someone how to do it. And it's always one of the, I think the easiest way to get data is to ask your best clients. Yeah. Because if you have your top 2 clients, if you ask them why they're with you, what do they think of their prices, like all that point, if you have a relationship where you can ask all these questions and you can use that to optimize your marketing plan, and you can then, I don't know, have 6 of those favorite clients. Do you really need that 100K, or are you just very happy that you can pay your rent and go on holiday? Like that's,
again, I'll extend that slightly. Don't just ask your favorite clients, ask the clients where it didn't work as well. I think too many people are too afraid to seek out negative feedback.
Yes. Yeah. Because I would say with that then though, like make sure they're your ideal client. Yeah. Or close to your ideal client. Like if it didn't work because the personalities didn't match, I feel like that maybe is a loss then, kind of thing. Yeah.
But I think I've seen businesses that actively avoid getting feedback from clients that they know aren't happy. Whether it be one-off clients or long-term clients. I've got a particular business in mind here, but long-term clients that, weren't happy, they actively buried their head in the sand and they missed huge learning opportunities. And then when it came to the time where they were like, okay, we need to change this, their clients had gone. They got sick of waiting. So they were gone. There's something really interesting going on with this at the moment. I don't know if you will have heard of this, but there's a federation called the WBFF in fitness, and it's like a fitness I'm going to say pageant, but that might piss a few people off if you do know what the WBFF is. So I'm going to use that term very loosely. But essentially, you stand on stage, you compete for your pro cards, all that kind of stuff. And they've actually had a PR nightmare recently, an absolute PR nightmare. And it's been very interesting to watch it all unfold. And a lot of their pros who have spent thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars to compete in these shows, to get those pro cards, to they've lived and embodied this brand for the last 10 years. They've all gone, nah, I give up my pro card. They've switched to different federations. They're not going to compete. Wow. It's been an absolute nightmare. So, and I'm not going to say the main problem, but one of the big problems that has kind of exacerbated this situation is that they did not listen when people were telling them that they were unhappy. And now they're in an absolute shitstorm. So, and there's probably many other case studies that could be pulled out where that has happened or is happening or whatever it might be. So make sure that you're not shying away from feedback that you don't want to hear.
Take it in, for sure. And I think, like, again, like, don't change your business plan per se on one, or a marketing plan on one negative feedback.
Oh.
If you have signals, if you get signals like something isn't right, change it and reflect if it's your marketing, if it's your business, and what side of your business it really is. And you don't need to pivot straight away. You could just make some tweaks.
Yeah, because it won't just be one part. It won't be everything that is broken, so to speak. It will be one particular thing that maybe just isn't resonating, or you maybe just need to tweak this messaging or whatever it might be. Don't completely reinvent the wheel and start again.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I think that's a great way to end this conversation, as in, like, if you make a plan, when you make a plan, give it time, make it realistic, and stick to it.
Give it time. I think is the main one. Give it time. Like, you can't be pivoting every 5 minutes and then saying, oh, it doesn't work. You don't know if it doesn't work or not. You have no idea, because you do not have enough data to back up your claims. So I think if I was going to say that, the key message out of that for me is, don't be driven by your emotions, be driven by data.
Yes.
All right. So
yeah,
that leads
do as we say, not as we do.
Well, actually, funnily enough, that we do say that, we make a joke. I am sitting here today and working out some strategies and plans and doing what I say to do but haven't been doing. But that is a nice segue into a future episode that will be coming soon, because then we're going to talk about the difference between a marketing plan and a marketing strategy in one of the episodes coming up. And I think as well, we maybe do some episodes around creating SMART goals, and maybe even look into making data-driven decisions, that kind of thing. So let us know, like, what kind of episodes, what kind of topics, if this has piqued your interest, or if this has taught you something and now you want to know more, what kind of topics would you like to see as an extension of this particular episode? Let us know in the show notes, or the show notes on Spotify, or leave us a comment on YouTube or Instagram. This episode will be going live. We're recording on the 6th of September. I think it's going to be going live next week. So whatever 6 + 7 is. I can't do quick maths right now.
13.
13, there you go. And if this helped, let us know. If it didn't help, let us know. We really do value your feedback, like we just said. Feedback is important, because we need to know that we're on the right track and giving you guys what you want to know. I think that's all from me. Anything you want to add, Kim, for this episode?
No. If you have a business plan, or if you have any experiences with your own business plan / marketing plan, let us know what they were. And
and let's help. So we're trying to build a community here, and that community is going to be made up from lots of different people. So depending on which stage of business you're in, if you're new to business, leave a comment if you've got any questions. And if you are a little bit more established in business, let's help our fellow business owners out by sharing our own experiences as well. Let's see if we can get people up to speed that feel like they're not quite there, and let's impart wisdom and knowledge if you feel like you've nailed this element of business. See you later.
See you next week. Bye.